The people have spoken. Petrovid? I can't say this word. Something about this guy's blue eyes had her in a chokehold. And honestly, me too. I have beef with this book. I could have just read the synopsis, stayed confused. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm filming just a quick little fun book video. Basically, I'm going to be looking at average GoodReads ratings for books I've read, particularly the lowest ratings, and we're going to talk about some of these books. I'm not going to go through it in order because I've read a lot of short stories, poetry collections, and I don't really want to talk about some stuff that are just in between. I want to talk about books that I feel particularly strong about. So we're gonna just skip through. It's honestly a pretty long list of low-rated books that I've read. So let's get to it. Okay, that's my thumbnail. Let's get started. The book that's at the top of this list, I have such strong feelings about, and I've always had strong feelings about it, and that is You Are the Everything by Karen Rivers. The GoodReads average rating for this book was a 2.82, and I gave this book 2 stars. I'll just start off by saying this book was such a disappointment. Like, it was honestly maybe not even just like one of the worst books I read, because I don't really think it was like the worst books I've read. It was the most disappointing book that I've read. And it's because of how it was marketed. Like, this story was giving tragedy and romance, but like contemporary kind of vibes. And I will admit, like, the setting and the kind of aesthetic of the book or whatever kind of was sweet, but like the story itself was lackluster. You know what I mean? These characters I was so detached from, very disinteresting people. But like the general premise is that this girl is returning on a class trip from Paris and their plane goes down. But for some reason, her and her crush are the 2 people that make it out, and they're living in this small town. Very kind of, I don't know, the small town just feels like it glitters. Like, in my mind, I was reading it and it just felt very like magical realism-esque. I don't think that's how you're supposed to describe it, but you get what I'm trying to say. And then things started getting very obscure and weird, but at the same time, like, nothing feels like it's happening. And I'm also reading it from the main character's point of view, which felt very static to me. Like, I felt like I was trapped in her head in the most insufferable way possible. You know what? Like, this book just wasn't the cute romance that I thought it would be. And maybe that's wrong for me to assume that out of a book with such a severe tragedy, but like, that's how the book was marketed. Like, it was supposed to be a romance. I don't know there's one line in the book that was cute that I underlined, and after that, it just went downhill. In my opinion, I just remember reading it and thinking, is this it? And then also, you get to the end of the book and you're confused. At least I was confused. I Googled it. People were confused. And then I found an explanation that just didn't really make sense, but like, I guess it kind of does, but I didn't like this book. So I give it 2 stars, and I think that the 2.82 rating is a little high. I would say more like 2.5 for an average rating would make sense, but like, the people have spoken. The next book on here is well, not the next book, but I skipped one of the short stories. I've never been able to say this word. I say the petrovid, but that's not how you pronounce it. It's the betrothed. I think I just said it. Okay. This is by Kira Cass. If you've heard of the Selection series, you know this author. And this is another series that she wrote called the name of the book. I'm not even gonna say it again. Guys, I was obsessed with this story. And I remember when I first read it, I gave it like 5 stars, and I went on GoodReads and I looked at what people had to say, and I was like, and this was before the rating of this book like kind of leveled out. Like, before this, the rating was in the gutter. It was in like the 1 stars. Everyone who was reading it was like, this is trash. And I was here like, ooh, like, I'm having a party. But then I reevaluated my rating, and so the GoodReads average rating is a 3.03. I ended up giving it a 3 stars, so like pretty in line. And I think the issue with the story is that it just did not seem planned. Like, this is kind of like a, what is it called when you kind of just like free write, I guess, something like that. So it basically follows Hollis, who lives in like a court setting of a palace, and she lives with other high families and the king. And the king basically dates around. He like dates whoever he wants to marry or like whatever. And he eventually settles on Hollis, and he really likes her. Sure, whatever. I don't like the king. I think he's a jerk, but that's just me. Anyways, they have everything set in order until a family from the neighboring kingdom is trying to escape. Like, they're kind of trying to escape the political situation in their country, and they ask the king for refuge in his palace, and they get it. And so Hollis starts kind of having this very interesting, obscure relationship with one of their sons. The only thing is, like, they don't really speak at all in the story. I don't know why I was sold on the relationship. Like, let's be honest. They spoke like 3 times throughout the bulk of the story. It was mostly eye contact. Something about this guy's blue eyes had her in a chokehold. And honestly, me too. Like, I don't know. I was just like, this is very intriguing. Like, he seems like an obscure character. I like the mystery. I like the broodiness, you know? But then, like, things just get crazy. Like, the last part of this book was just chaos. I truly don't understand if Kira Cass was like, I'm bored with the plot that I'm writing, so let me start a new book. But things just went haywire. And I mean, I thought it was like fine, because the second book I think did a better job of like bringing everything together, and I really like the second book in the series. The first book is a little messy. Like, I have to admit, it's messy. So there's that, y'all. Okay, the next book is Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart, and y'all, I have beef with this book. So I wanted to read an E. Lockhart story because everyone was talking about We Were Liars, and I already knew the plot twist since one of my friends read it back in middle school and like told me. So I was like, we're not gonna read that book. I know the plot twist, and I want something like really thrilling and exciting, especially since I'm trying to like get to know this author. So I picked up Genuine Fraud, and honestly, big mistake, because this book made me never want to read anything by this author again. First of all, this book was absolutely confusing, and I don't mind being confused for like the purpose of the plot. And I guess technically the story's told in reverse, so you're not really supposed to know what's going on, and it's supposed to feel disorienting. But this felt maddening. Like, I just could not take it. And by the time I got to the end of the book, I didn't know what was going on still, which is the worst part, because like, how do I finish a book and I'm still lost, I'm still confused, and there's like no sense of closure or clarity? Like, I might as well not have read the book because I never find out what's going on. You know what I mean? I could have just read the synopsis, stayed confused, and I just was not here for it at all. And the main character, who we don't know who she, like, I don't know who she is, to be honest. It's just like insane. I gave this book 2 stars. It has a 3.26. Also, I don't think E. Lockhart has any like fancy writing kind of style, or like, I don't know, like just the voice in the story was not unique. It wasn't gripping. If you're gonna write a thriller, like, I want to be, you know, thrilled. I was suffering. So, oh, this book, The New Me by Hallie Butler. Like, this really was at a time where I was trying to branch out of YA a little bit, not because I love YA. If you know me, I'm predominantly read it, but I was like, let me be adventurous. This was the wrong book to try and be adventurous with, because this was terrible. This is editing me coming in to say I'm so sorry. I don't know what I ate that morning. That morning is this morning. That I was feeling violent, because the way I'm coming for these books, I mean, some of them it's deserved, but definitely not all of them. I apologize if this is becoming intense. I don't know why I felt so passionately, like, I don't know, against all of these. They're obviously my lowest rated books, but I don't actually hate all of these as much as it looks like I do. I just don't like that. And like, I recognize this is someone's hard work, so I don't want to just dump on it. So apologies for, I mean, I guess that's the authentic moment, you know, but like, bear with me. This video seems so negative. Whoops. I gave it 2 stars. It has a 3.35 rating on GoodReads. The general premise, I think, is that I'm just dissatisfied with my current state of life. And like, okay, is that gonna be an entire book's plot? Anyways, next book. Ooh, I got real beef with this one. The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. You would be surprised the amount of people who had things that were pleasant to say about this book. Because when I finished reading it, it was immediate, where's the 0-star rating option? There is none. So 1 star is what I gave it. And then I saw the 3.43. How? That's the question. Like, that's genuinely my question. This book is so dehumanizing. So like, it's not really making sense to me why people feel like this book is impactful. I don't know. I was just kind of shocked to read this story. And also I read the uncensored version, which has a lot of racial slur. A lot. Okay, I know this book is dated, but dang. Okay, as a Black person reading this book, I was alarmed, to say the least. It's not good. I just have beef with the story. I don't even know how else to put it, y'all. Just not good. Just not good. Very bad. That's one of the only books I think that I've given 1 star. Oh no, there's another one. A little further down on the list. We might have to do a part 2 to this. I have to go to class. Let me do one more really quickly. And that is Very Bad People by Kit Frick. I read this one this year because I didn't do a January wrap up. I don't think I got the chance to talk about this book. And I thought that the writing initially was very beautiful, but honestly, the author kind of deviates from that style of presentation. Like, it starts off very whimsical and almost like a dark, twisted fairy tale, which I thought was really unique, especially because this is kind of like a mystery story. Like, the main character's trying to find out what happened to her mom all those years ago, because her mom basically drove her and her sisters in a van into the water, and then her mom died and her sister survived. So like, she's trying to find out what happened, what was going through her mom's mind that day that led to it, what secrets, whatever. She's not really sure. So she goes to the boarding school her mom used to go to, and she's, you know, trying to also escape being this town's like news, basically. And I think the premise is like really intriguing, but honestly, this book was messy and the messaging was so unclear. I don't know what the author was trying to convey by writing this book. I gave this book 3 stars. It got a 3.43 rating on GoodReads. Also, I know that these are people's like books. This is their hard work. So I'm not, you know, I'm sure someone somewhere obviously may have liked some of these enough to, except for The Heart of Darkness. That one I don't accept. I don't accept. But yeah, these are just my thoughts, opinions. If you liked any of the books I mentioned, I mean, I liked the Betrothed, you know what book I'm talking about. I really love that book, and it has such an awful rating. People have such awful things to say about it. So obviously, like, you can like books that people think are trash. Like, come on. Reading is subjective and enjoying books is an experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little random segment, and hopefully I will film one of these very soon, because this was fun. I love talking about books, and sometimes it's nice to like talk about books that I read a while ago rather than books that I just like read this month and stuff. So yeah, we'll chat later.